I'm Clark Rowley. I actually knew I was gay at a very young age. However, I really hid it because of influences through public, through family. This was a period in the 70s that you didn't really discuss that kind of a thing, and you had a lot of comments going around that you would hear your friends or family that are straight or heterosexual, and they'd always make derogatory comments and things like that towards people that you thought were gay. I think the other thing that kind of hit it for me was that the only gay people you ever saw on the TV or growing up were the stereotypical. That's all that we were ever exposed to, especially coming from Midtown or Midwestern town of Des Moines. You didn't have those influences. And as a teenager, I really had identified with it, but I think even more so I hid it further and deeper down. And then so when I moved to Phoenix, I had actually came to Phoenix to go to ASU and to further my career, and it was at the age of 22 that I finally came out. So from that point, I had also entered the industry world, the resort industry world, where I've been working over 20 years.
My name is David Chaney. I was born in November 1963 in Oklahoma City. I moved to Phoenix, my dad worked for the government, and he got transferred to Fort Huachuca in Sierra Vista, Arizona, where he worked, and my mom eventually worked too. But we moved there at 10 years old. But coming from a conservative army town, I knew I was gay probably from the time I was 6 years old. I didn't really discover that I knew I was gay, but I didn't really discover I was gay until I had moved to LA after I had completed my degree at ASU in interior architecture. And then I moved out to LA, and that's where I got to be me. You know, I always thought I was the black sheep of the family, but I made a lot of discoveries about my family then, and to this day they are amazing. They are my biggest fans, and they're my biggest supporters. And things that I'm more in, I'm a diabetic. I've been a diabetic for 35 years. I'm now 50 years old, so I got it when I was 15. But one of the things that I do every year is I ride in the Phoenix Tour de Cure. And the last 2 years I've rode 34.7 miles, and this year I rode 51.7 miles, and I raised over $4,000 for diabetes research and education.
And it wasn't until it was about 2009, I guess, and
Because I was looking for a job.
well, you found it when you asked me out.
Yes, I had just
Thank
got it,
goodness.
yeah.
But yes, and I remember that rainy day. It was a Sunday afternoon. You called me, and you asked me if I would go out on a date with you, and I said yes. And so he planned the first date. It was to Zoo Lights.
But yes, we initially met playing backgammon, and it's for some freak reason, he and I got to talking about backgammon, and I, for some reason, had the backgammon board in my car. And so he said something about backgammon. I went running out to the car, grabbed the board, and we started playing. And we started playing almost every day after that. And we just got to know each other, and we really got to like each other. And then I asked him, I said, you know, this is somebody I could spend the rest of my life with. And I asked him out to Zoo Lights, and you know, 2 weeks after that, he took me on the first date to his business function.
A business function.
So
looking back on that, I still wonder what I was thinking. That was the craziest thing in the world.
I
must have been smitten. So then we decided that we would do it here, and we had explored getting married in a state that had already honored same-sex marriage. But the reality of it is that we weren't planning on moving to those states, and so therefore to stay at our home, which we'd made this obviously our home, and had all intents of making it our home, it made no sense to be legally married in a state that was recognized when our home state wasn't going to recognize it, so we chose not to. But the wedding was quite fun. And we refer to it as our wedding, and it is our wedding date, even though it is a commitment ceremony. To us, that is our wedding. In fact, if when the day happens that we are blessed to be able to legally get married in this state, we've decided that we're keeping October 9th, 2010 as our official wedding anniversary, because that was the day that
we got married in front of 300 of our closest friends and family.
all in hats.
Yes, because we brought the British part to Scottsdale.
We decided to do it at the Scottsdale Civic Center, and working with people from the Civic Center, they were just thrilled. Honestly, for city officials, thought it was so cool. And we hit that bridge, and we came over, because the fountains at the Civic Center, there's a bridge you cross through it. It was just nothing but a sea of hats.
I have been a type 1 diabetic for 35 years. I'm 50 years old, and I've been a type 1. I've watched my life change drastically. I used to have to do shots and all that. I wear a little pump that pumps insulin into me all the time. But because of me being a diabetic, there are incidences where I can have really low blood sugar and things like that. That seems to be one of the biggest problems with me, where I become incoherent, where I don't recognize people or things. So having somebody by my side like Clark, I know that I'm looked out after. I don't have to worry about my parents, but the thing I'm always worried about, because of us not being able to be married in the state of Arizona, is that he may not be able to come visit me, or in certain hospitals, or in Scottsdale. It's not a guarantee. But he also has no right in making decisions on my behalf, and I want him to be able to make the decisions that I know are going to be my decisions, not, somebody who thinks something's right.
It's made it very difficult in putting together our relationship, not in the decision of our relationship, but in moving our relationship forward, that we are inflicted with a situation that a lot of couples in this world aren't inflicted with, or at least at this point in the relationship. And knowing that you have to carry so many documents whenever you travel anywhere, how you put together your estate in the event that something tragic should happen, which really could happen between either one of us, but having the fact that he is inflicted with diabetes, it makes it even that little bit more challenging. And the number one thing that scares me is it's actually the hospitals that scare me the most, and it depends on who you get at that hospital. We could have an incident, and we could be at Scottsdale Healthcare, for example, and frankly, if it was somebody who, for whatever reason, didn't agree with our lifestyle, could keep me out of the room to see him, or could keep me, as simple as that. And that's not right. David and I have talked in depth and for hours about both of ourselves in the event that anything should ever happen to either one of us in an accident or in any situation, and we know what we want done, and it should be that way.
Well, and then also when I become incoherent, that's when I can go into my, I can go into an all-out rage, and, having him there and knowing that he's there and is going to keep me calm, because all it takes is the wrong thing and I could explode. Having somebody who can just keep me where I'm thinking, clearly, and all that makes me feel I'm safe.